Thank you guys all for coming out today for the Psi NYC collaboration with Psi Combinator. So just to give you some very brief background here, what is Psi NYC? What is decentralized science? What is New York? What is Psi Combinator? We'll try and break down all these different little steps to try and help people make sense of it. So, decentralized science is this new way of thinking about science where we don't think of science as being done inside a university setting, but instead we think of it as being done in a distributed way, where anyone can take part in research, where research is verified, where data is on chain, where people are incentivized to do scientific research and they don't work within this Baroque system of the ivory tower. And so we've been looked at this as a sort of a new idea, and a couple months ago we thought it would be a good idea to have these sort of in-person meetups where people who are interested in decentralized science can sort of meet together in New York City. Now, after doing this for a few times, we thought there was a couple people who wanted to get more and more in-depth into doing decentralized science. Like, it was fun to come to the meetups. It was cool to eat the pizza. It was cool to hear the speakers, but people actually started to want to get involved. So we started this program called Psi Combinator, which is an accelerator for science for people that are interested in decentralized science. So over the past 6 weeks, we've been working with these 10 different projects to help them kickstart their idea and to help them get rolling. And today is like the demo day where we're going to see what these 10 projects have done and get people who are here involved and interested, so be sure to take notes and get interested. I'll just talk a little bit more about what is Psi Combinator, because this is the first time we did it, but it won't be the last. So we're having another one. So okay, so I had this idea that instead of research being done by these labs, it would be cool to have this concept of a pop-up research lab, where sort of people in these, instead of in academic research today, it's like you join a lab, you have to find other people that are doing it, it's a 6-year program, you have to get funding, you have to get the approval of your research advisor, you have to get it approved by many different things. But that wasn't sort of the way, the directions. It should be lighter weight, it should be smaller. So I had this idea of these small pop-up research, people could join these little research hubs, and that's how the future of research would be. So Psi Combinator really encourages sort of small teams to work on projects for a finite amount of time, like 4 to 6 weeks, instead of 4 to 6 years. And I think there's really a lot of benefits of this shorter, more compressed time span. One of which is, if you're doing research over the course of 4 to 6 years for a PhD, it's really hard to verify the results of that. So if it takes that long to do an experiment, the likelihood that someone is going to do it, replicate that is practically speaking zero. But if the whole thing is done in 4 to 6 weeks, that means you could probably verify it in 4 to 6 hours. And that actually makes it so it's replicable, and you can build on top of it, which is really cool. So the Psi Combinator program is really incentivized for people who are scientists. And scientist is a broad term here. It can be people that are traditionally trained in science, or it can also be people who are self-taught. So I think one of the underappreciated things is there's many people on the internet today who aren't traditional scientists who still have knowledge of how science is done. And DSci and Psi Combinator is really trying to appeal to that crowd. Secondly, we have programmers what else is Psi Combinator good is people who want to get involved in science who have technical skills. So people who are programmers and said, okay, I really want to figure out how I can be, I know Python, I know Rust, I know R, how do I get more involved in science and find those people. And then people that are just want to do a startup that has something to do with science is another thing who's
Psi Combinator is good for. So some of the benefits are, it has deadlines. So it's a 4-week program, and there's like 2 meetings a week, and each week has like a deadline. So that's a good forcing function. People in the program get to meet each other. There's mentors. You have shared systems. You have shared resources. There's a demo day, and there's an alumni group. Okay, so it's like a 4-week program, and it's very low stakes, null results are okay. Each week, each session, it's sort of like a journal club where someone talks about a topic, whether it be like how to come up with a thesis, how to come up with a hypothesis, how to conduct a research experiment, how to do a variety of things, and each time like we have that topic, and people try and do the project and then get feedback from their peers. And so it's a very fast and iterative approach to science. Okay, so then the final goals of this is what we're seeing today is a software or data artifact and a tweet thread or a technical write-up. Okay, so this is like these slides will be available online. This is sort of the weekly schedule that we went through. And the next steps, if anyone here or people that are watching online is interested, you can go to psicombinator.xyz. The deadline is August 31st. And I cannot stress enough that early applicants are given priority in the acceptance process. Okay, so very brief application. If you would like to apply, I'll leave this up here momentarily. Okay. Then also, we have the next DSci NYC is set for September 21st at 7 p.m. If anyone would like to find out more details about that, you're at the DSci NYC 7. This is DSci NYC 8. This will be in conjunction with ETH NYC and ETH Pragma, which is going to be coming to New York, so it'll be very cool and it'll be a great crowd. And then, without further ado, we will get into the presentations for today. So here are the people that will be presenting. We have Voluntas, who was found through DSci NYC originally. They're doing a new type of way to do clinical trials. We have OpenCan, which is doing genomics on cannabis. We have Cannabis DAO, which is just doing general cannabis research. We have Research Collective, which is doing an incentivized clinical trial, new types of incentivized clinical trials. We have Future Folklore that is looking for aliens and extraterrestrial space life using decentralized science. We have Arbiter, which is coming up with new economic models in a distributed way. We have Distributed Governance DAO, which is looking into how governance is done within different types of DAOs. We have Soci DAO, which is looking into how to do sociology research within the context of a DAO organization. We have Supplement DAO, which is looking at how supplements and nootropics can be used, can be studied in a decentralized way. We have Sidex, which is looking into new types of publishing models online. And we have HackAge, which is looking into extracellular rejuvenation and ways to keep the structure of skin healthier. Okay, so we have a lot to get through. So to begin, Voluntas, why don't you come up? Yeah. And you can introduce yourself. I'll get your slides ready.
Hey, I'm Julian with Voluntas. Great to see everyone here in New York. I co-founded this with my friend Kit. We come from the traditional health tech background, so I co-founded a medical record company called Canvas Medical that's like basically used by doctors around the country, and he co-founded TrialSpark, which is a clinical trial company. We both kind of had a side interest in crypto. I was talking with some of you about my DGen retail participant days, and I think, my take from that was like, this is fun and very speculative, but like, is there anything useful here? And we thought about maybe there's a way to do an interesting project with clinical trials, so that's how we started Voluntas. You can go to the next slide. So I'll just talk through it for a minute, and then we have like a 30-second little teaser demo here. So we're really a new model to engage with clinical research. The idea here is that patients in clinical trials don't have often adequate ways to find trials and incentives to participate, and we think that kind of a decentralized crypto model is an interesting way to address that. So just a few background points, I'll go through these real quick. About 80% of clinical trials don't enroll patients in a timely manner. This is a huge problem. Pharma companies spend over $6,000 to recruit a patient. So this is a huge industry opportunity. There's a lot of traditional players in this. There's certainly just like a traditional SaaS play here, but we think there's an interesting DeSci angle as well. Clinical trial opportunities typically exclude large population segments. So if you think of like, if you go to NYU or something, you might see some flyers. Maybe there's some targeted ads you see on Facebook if you search for, if you're in a group, or Google AdWords. But the way people find out about trials is very disjointed, and a lot of people are excluded. And then the third thing is patients are often left out of any economic value. So people participate for a variety. People participate for a variety of reasons, but pharma is one of the most profitable industries on earth, and patients don't see any returns from their participation, and we think it's time to address that. You can go to the next slide. So what we're doing here is creating basically a flywheel between patients and industry. On one side, we have patients. They sign into our registry. We help aggregate their data and retrieve it from different sources. That's kind of what I was doing before this in the non-crypto world. And then we match them to relevant studies, and we share in economic gains with them. And then the industry side, what we're doing, I think that's a little different, and this is kind of an ongoing discussion. We contract with industry participants in a standard manner. Right now, we're focused on like research sites, like academic researchers. We have some conversations, one kind of LOI with like a mid-sized pharma company. Those are kind of harder whale deals to get. And then they access data, and we help them find patients. I think one thing with DeSci, and I think it's a theme of a lot of kind of what we talked about in the accelerator and what I talked with Michael about is like, there's this vision, right, of what we want decentralized science to look like. And then there's kind of like, what does it mean to work with US pharma companies, in this regulated industry? And you kind of have to meet them halfway, right? And so for us, that means we're just going to work with industry participants in a standard manner. For them, it's not about DeSci or crypto or anything. It's just about like finding patients. And if we can help them do that, they'll work with us. So you can go to the next slide here real quick. So this is just a tiny little 30-second demo of our, maybe we don't. You can request access. I don't have to show it. It basically is just a little demo of our researcher portal. It's nothing too special. It's just researchers log in. They can see what patients they have, and basically they can kind of reach out to those patients, collect their data. So we put together a little demo for that. But if you're interested, I can do that separately. So yeah, I don't know. Do we have time? It's Any questions or comments? Yeah.
I'm actually in the medtech space as well. So the question that I have is, what does regulation look like, and how do you get around that? Because for any new startup, when you're in any health-related field, regulation is one of the biggest barriers. So startup may be a $10 million problem, but the regulation is like a $200 million.
Yeah. So we think of regulation in two ways. One is like the healthcare regulation, and one is the crypto side. On the healthcare side, so previously we both worked in this space, so you basically have to get patient consent to collect their data, you have to store it in a compliant manner. That's all it's not easy, but there's a lot of right now we're honestly using like white label tools for it. It's not that hard. The hard thing, and this probably won't surprise like the crypto degen people out there, is our whole model is like we want to share in economic rewards via like a token mechanism. Our focus is on US patients. Our model is to give away the token for free. We've been working with our lawyers on this, but like it's complicated, right? Because like I don't think it's a security because like we're giving it away for free, but that's I think the big regulatory question with a lot of these like we're bootstrapping a marketplace with a token type projects is what does it mean to give away a token, and can you do that in the US? And right now, I'll be honest, like I think that's probably the biggest risk we face is just like that's kind of a big idea that we have is giving this token away, and I think that the regulatory clarity just isn't there to be super confident in. I think there's ways around it, but it's kind of like murkier than we'd like it to be.
And then a quick follow-up. One of the challenges that I've encountered, for example, is you really quickly learn that while you can build your own tech, you also have to build it within the existing system in healthcare, which is quite rigid. So I'm guessing you have a software system or some application. How do you integrate that with the existing systems in your space?
Yeah, it's a good question. So one reason that we really like recruitment, as like when you think of clinical trials, there's kind of like recruitment, there's like the actual trial, running the trial, and then there's like follow-up from the trial. And for running the trial and follow-up, there's a lot of different like SaaS plays and established companies. And if you're trying to get a wedge into there, it's pretty complicated. You got to think about integration. One thing we really like about recruitment is it's really like simple from a tech perspective, right? Like honestly, what pharma companies want is like a list of patients, like a file that's like, here's the patients, you can reach out to them, they've consented. So you can start with recruitment with a really low tech, kind of no integrations necessary. In the long term, we want to go more towards like engaging with patients during the trial, and that requires more integration. But I think recruitment is a really great wedge for that reason. Yeah.
Have you identified, are you working with any patient populations right now?
Yeah, so we have a study that's kind of for like hypertensive patients and smoking. Right now, they're kind of focused on like these broad populations of like, you know, relatively healthy people who maybe have like hypertension or are smokers, or, you know, it's kind of like a population about physical activity. I think that's been nice because it's easy to find those folks. If you look at like the business of clinical trial recruitment, it's not surprising that like the rarer you get, the more people will pay. And you know, that makes sense because it's hard to find those folks. So over the longer term, or not even the longer term, but like the next months, we would like to do more, not necessarily rare diseases, but maybe rare diseases, because just from a business perspective, people will pay like 10x what they'll pay for a non-rare disease, right? And so the idea is if you amass this large registry, you can kind of have this group of, you know, representation across diseases. I think one question we have, and a lot of the, I think, projects here have thought about this in different ways, is like, maybe it makes sense for us to focus on a disease. I think we're kind of being opportunistic of like, you know, right now our contracts are kind of for these general populations. If we happen to get a big contract with, you know, a pharma company that's really interested in a specific disease, we focus there.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of other questions about this model because I follow biopharma really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhat similar. I think. I mean, ours is more of like a recruitment play. I think what
yours is distinct. Yes.
Yeah.
They're very.
I mean, I love what they're doing. I think what they're doing is like, we thought about that in terms of like, okay, if we get patients in our registry, can we like have, you know, some way to share in the eventual proceeds of a drug with them? From like a security token perspective, that gets even more complicated. So we're kind of like,
No, yeah, like
you know.
everything you're saying makes me really nervous.
yeah, totally, it should.
Okay,
Cool.
That looks good.
Yeah, thank you
So
guys.
let's give
Thanks.
this round of applause.
All right, now we will welcome our people who are not here with us physically, but are with us here remotely. So, Elijah, are you there? Elijah. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see how to do this. Can you start presenting?
Down here. Fingers crossed.
Can you guys hear? No?
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Testing.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Take it away.
Cool. Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone out there in New York and in the world. My name is Elijah. I am a molecular biologist based in California and founder of OpenCan. So OpenCan started with the vision to increase data accessibility in cannabis industry. So after getting my PhD, I started the Cannabis Genomics Lab and did that for almost 6 years. And during that time, we were generating data for a lot of people in the cannabis industry. I realized that there was a huge problem that nobody wanted to share that data once we got it. Right? Most of the research being done in cannabis right now is funded by private organizations. So they'll all develop proprietary products, they'll be, it's very limited. There is public data, but there's very limited access to the vast wealth of data that is out there. And so this is drastically slowing down.
Hold on, Elijah, 1 second.
It's here, right?
What?
Microphone's here, right?
Say that again.
microphones to your right.
No, just that one unplugged, I think,
This
right?
got unplugged.
Yeah, it just came unplugged.
Test one. Okay.
So then it's gonna.
All right, Elijah, say it. Start again.
Can everyone hear me?
Can you
Yes.
do it
Raise
again?
your hand in the back if you can hear me.
Try again. Say something else.
I will say it louder for the people in the back. Yes.
Say something else.
Testing, decentralizing data governance.
Is that better? Can you hear it? Okay. Here, wait, sit here. I'm gonna go get the girl. Okay, start again, Elijah.
Oh. Okay. I'm assuming people can hear me? Okay, so starting again. Hello everyone, my name is Elijah. I am a molecular biologist. I am based here in California, and I founder of OpenCam. So after finished grad school, I started a molecular biology lab in my garage doing cannabis genomics. And I was really passionate about this. It was 2017, right before recreational cannabis went into effect legally here in California. So there's a huge interest in the market at that point. And I wanted to apply what I had learned in grad school with genetics to this growing industry and accelerate research. So during that time, roughly 6 years when in that business, we did diagnostics as a service. We were generating lots of data for people. Everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Yeah, I realized during that time that there was no incentive for any of my former customers or anyone else in the industry to share their data. Most of that research is being done funded privately by private organizations. So everyone's just trying to develop a proprietary product. And this really slows down the pace of developing new therapeutics and catching up on over a century of prohibition. So trying to figure out how I can unlock that. And there's people on LinkedIn who have also again, very overwhelming support or interest in seeing more data. I'm going to do this. So the basic concept for OpenCamp is to have a community-owned and operated marketplace, right, a DAO-governed marketplace, where the participants then govern it, so similar to Uniswap, have reputation-weighted governance, so that contributions to the community are
Hold on 1 second, Elijah. We're trying to get you a better solution here. Okay, Elijah, say something. So, test 1, 2. Elijah, say something else.
data nerds.
Say one more thing, sorry. Slight issue.
Yeah, no, I can't. That's the one too.
Say something else, Elijah. Alright, we'll go with that. Alright, Elijah, say something else.
Psi Combinator Demo.
Okay, what's good? Now let's put that back on.
Okay, say something else.
Go ahead. Go, Elijah.
Do I have the power now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so hopefully everyone's caught up mostly so far. But essentially, yeah, basic concept for OpenCAN is a data marketplace, community governed, owned and operated, right, DAO governed marketplace. And this aligns the public and private interests. I think this is one of the core concepts of Psi, to enable individual contributors to still benefit from their own work while contributing to the collective public good, right? Knowledge, in my opinion, is the ultimate public good. And if we can align the public and private incentives through new Web3 based incentive mechanisms, then we can achieve great things like unlocking tons of data and accelerating the development of new therapeutics. So why Web3? Provenance of intellectual property, trustless and conditional permissions, data accessibility, and permanence and verifiability, and network effects, of course. So this is a implementation of the marketplace that we built back in June for HackFS. So just showing a simple page where you can buy and sell data listed on our marketplace. So the main crux here is that we need to find data that people find useful, find people that find it useful, and convince them to pay for it ultimately, right? And so if we're going to have a marketplace, we're essentially dog feeding this this process ourselves by doing data science, compute over data as a service, building the MVP of the marketplace, getting some people to publish and test data, and building a GPT based upon data that we have worked up doing data science. So there's a few customer or user profiles that we're really honing in on that we believe can both be act as data providers and data consumers and interact with each other. And so these are some of the types of data that we're focusing on analyzing early on to sort of provide, to act as the initial data provider on the marketplace and find these user segments that we believe we're going to be able to provide value to, and they'll be able to provide value to each other once the marketplace gets going. So these are some of the data sets that we're working on early on. Some text data that's been scraped, images, molecular data, tons of molecular data, product reviews, experiential data, which we're collecting, and a few other things. So the question that we're really focused on for Psi Combinator is, can we predict the effects of specific products based on information submitted in a subjective experience report, right? By asking someone, what did you experience? And then looking at the product testing sheet for the product consumed. So just got some basic information on Twitter about how people, actually done journaling before and tried to use journaling to improve their cannabis experiences and find particular modalities of consuming cannabis that work better for their therapy that they're seeking. We also launched a Rotoblog article that's yet to launch, and basically just refining some of the actual implementation of the data collection, which I'll show you next. So this is the initial survey that we created using DBDAO. And the goal there is to enable people to contribute collaboratively to a data set such that their responses are individually minted as NFTs, which can then be listed on the marketplace. So this concept of collaborative data creation opens up co-governance of data sets, right? And so what does that mean? That means having particular groups of people, right, in a community that can have different permissions. Right, so whether you're an admin, an owner, a particular user that has particular permissions to do certain things, like say you only have access to do compute over data, you only purchase a license to perform compute over data functions on a particular data set. Maybe you have full download access, maybe it's time gated. There's different sorts of permissions that can be assigned to a particular data set to enable multiple people to co-govern that data set. And we're working on, so the data with our MVP that we built back in June was encrypted by default using the protocol. Working on building that into the dashboard that I'm going to show you next. But ultimately, that's where we're going, is having encryption by default to really unlock all this data that is out there not being shared. All right, so we just collected a few test responses just to try to get this product off the ground, and the future versions will include real-time analytics and a login system where people can access their data and pass reports and really use this as a tool to improve their experiences through journaling. Right, and also building this into a fun little Telegram bot where people can access and communicate with each other in a community. Right. So all of this is being built into a unified dashboard that is very simple to log into, leveraging your protocol and their fast auth, where people can log in with a username and email address and have a self-custodial wallet, right, to manage all of their data that they submit and their participation in the DAO community. It's really just trying to abstract away as many of the Web3 concepts as we can and simplify the user experience into a traditional app or website. And so as part of this work, I've actually continued on to Build Space Accelerator this next month. And so this is the simplification of OpenCAN, find, fund, and do cannabis research. That's the one-liner. And I'm actually participating in Gitcoin Grants Open Source Round 18 currently. So this screenshot was taken just before I started. I'm really hoping to hit at least 69 contributions today. So if you are interested in this work and supporting it, please visit gitcoin.opencan.net and you can find the grant and additional information. So thanks so much, and I'll take any questions.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Elijah?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
You may want to unmute it. It's,
Oh, yeah, well, good call. Here, come on.
Hi. My
Wait,
name is.
one second. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm really interested in what you're building, and I last year founded Resign Network on like OG Gitcoin Grants platform. It was wild and crazy back then, and I'm wondering if you have any interest in really solid tooling for open science that spans environmental science and this cannabis research. If building something that's a fundamental collaboration science tool is something that is of interest to you, and that's more of a personal question than a pitch related question, but I'm just curious to know your thoughts.
All right, Eliza, did you hear?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the concept of having sort of like almost like paradigms of how to do certain things, whether that is publishing or managing a community treasury for funding through Psi DAO. I think those sorts of things, those particular use cases of Psi or DAOs, will kind of probably hit some sort of template or equilibrium where we figure out what is the more successful model. But I think we're just so early now that a lot of the tooling and things to figure those out. I mean, we're running experiments just to figure out what works at this point. So yeah, I'm a big fan of composability, interoperability, trying to use as much of that as possible in building the dashboard and components for OpenCan. So I'd be interested to talk about that more for sure.
Any other questions? Okay, excellent work, Elijah. Good job. And let's have Cannabis DAO start setting up. Anyone? You had a big round of applause here, Elijah. If I could handle the feedback. There we are. And Cannabis DAO, let's have you go.
I'm Rashmi from Cannabis DAO. I'll be presenting today. I'm a software developer and I'm one of the core members of Cannabis.
Your slides aren't up.
Sorry. Just sharing it. Alright, do you guys see it?
Yes, now we got them. Perfect. Good. All right, now you can go. Start from the top.
Okay. Hey everyone, I'm Rashmi. I'm a software developer and I've been in Web3 since about 2.5 years. And I'm one of the core members of Cannabis DAO. And I'm delighted to introduce you Cannabis DAO. So it's a revolutionary project aimed at advancing cannabis research through innovation and collaboration. So it was born with a simple question, which was, would researchers in cannabis field be interested in participating in a DAO? So we recognize that there are some of the challenges that cannabis research faces today. Things like legal restrictions, societal prejudice, and lack of comprehensive research reports. So additionally, the existing grant providing model is also not good. It's plagued with issues like transparency, slow fund allocation, and unclear selection criteria. So to address these challenges, we created a DAO that could contribute significantly in advancements of cannabis research. So our model leverages decentralized science and blockchain technology. So Web3. So with DAO structure, we can overcome the challenges faced by traditional research funding models, and that's how we could help advance it. So And as the cannabis research market continues to expand, so does the potential impact of our project. But we acknowledge that there are still obstacles ahead. So our main goal is to facilitate fundraising for innovative cannabis research and also foster partnerships with key industry players and create a transparent ecosystem for stakeholders to collaborate and share knowledge. We drew inspiration from successful grant DAOs like BetaDAO and formulated a funding model, which we hope to implement in upcoming months. And our team consists of diverse, knowledgeable folks from different corners of the world, like Europe, Brazil, Japan, India, Africa, and the United States. So at this stage, we are currently at the phase 1 of our roadmap. You can check out our roadmap on our docs. We're currently conceptualizing the design and planning the development of Cannabis DAO, how to achieve our goal, and actively recruiting new team members and building a community around it. And we are also figuring out how to structure ourselves legally so that we can comply with regulatory guidelines. So we actively host community events in order to engage with like-minded people and to meet potential investors and everyone who's interested in our goal. We hosted Web3 Cannabis Night at East Tokyo 2023 and CV Chill Night, which was a side event at IBS Crypto 2023. So we are inviting you to join us. Anyone who is interested in our goal and wants to collaborate with us, would love for you to join us, from researchers, policymakers, academic institutions, volunteers, everyone. So please join us and be a part of this so that we can bring new possibilities to scientific research on cannabis and provide fair fundraising opportunities. Thank you for this, and thank you for attention. That's all.
Wait, hold the applause. Wait, I want them to hear, but hold on. Okay.
I'd love to.
Excellent. Everyone is very happy about it. And cannabis, both CanDAO and the other teams have gone so far since we started. Like, the amount of work that all of these teams have done since the beginning is really, really, really astounding. So I just want to acknowledge all the teams that have really kicked it into gear these last couple weeks. So great work. Does anyone have any questions for Cannabis DAO? Certainly one. So what would be a way that someone can get involved? Like, is there a specific type of person that you're looking to recruit into Cannabis DAO?
We'd love for researchers to join us, like anyone who's doing research in cannabis, on cannabis, and we're looking for investors right now where they can fund the research and we can help them. So that's the model we try to implement right now.
Okay, so if you are a scientist or an investor in the audience, make sure to scan the QR code and get in touch. And any other questions from the audience? Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any competition in this space? Is anyone else doing this? And if so, what would their competitive edge be whenever they go to market?
Okay, so the question was, did you hear it, or the question? The question was, are there any other competitors in this space, and if so, what's your sort of competitive advantage, and how do you differentiate?
I'll let Roger take this one. I think he is actively involved with competitors and things.
Hi, I'm Roger from Cannabis DAO, and let me answer this question. So far, we see no competitors in this specific cannabis space. So we found there were no players who are doing funding in the cannabis research. So that's why we have started. And the competitiveness of our team is our team consists of the cannabis business players and also some researchers from many countries. So that's how we differentiate. And we have partnered with MZ the largest business trade show in cannabis space in the world. And also, one of our members, actually we are running Japan's largest CBD and hemp expo in Japan. So we are kind of hub of the community. So that's our strength.
Awesome. Okay. Well, great work, you guys. And they also, these guys are in Japan right now, so the whole team is there. So it's probably very late. But if anyone here is ever in Japan, they host some amazing meetups there, and they've really been cultivating a very strong D-Sci community there. All right. Next up, we have Tristan, who we met through Zuzulu. And he has been working on a new sort of research collective for clinical trials. And I'll give the floor to Tristan. So let's give everyone a round of applause to Tristan.
Hey everybody. I'm Tristan. I'm one of the initiators for the research collective. I've been thinking about how to combine biohacking science and crypto for some years now. After publicly testing out a gene therapy for HIV, I realized that even if it worked, nobody would believe me and the supply chain would be almost impossible to secure. And that got me really thinking about how can we use crypto to legitimize things without necessarily having to secure hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. This last year, I ran a clinical study for a gene therapy in a special economic zone, but now I want to switch to running decentralized trials in order to prove new therapies. The first phase of this is where we're at now, which is a nonprofit that's tied to a DAO that will act as a contract research organization. We will use both decentralized trials and special economic zones in order to affordably perform research for biotech startups, Psi DAOs, and other citizen scientist projects. This should help more biotech initiatives make it through the valley of death, which is often tied to the cost of legitimizing a therapy in clinical studies. Phase 2 is applying crypto incentives in order to scale participation and also encourage adherence to trials, which is usually a big problem of decentralized trials. So for example, I might be running a trial for mints that can both tan your skin and prevent sun damage, reducing the need for sunblock. And maybe you have to pay 30 USDC to join the trial, but if you provide follow-up data, you get that money refunded back to you. Even better though, you could potentially get a share of the USDC of the crypto from the people who dropped out of the trial as a sort of a motivation, a reward for completing it. And eventually you might be able to get tokens representing equity or royalties for when the treatment makes it to market. But again, this gets into securities issues, and we'll see if that ever actually ends up happening. Phase 3, though, is that if there is a network of citizen scientists that are able to do research relatively affordably, is that now it's possible to start disrupting existing stock markets. And we could do this by betting for and against biotech companies based on this group's independent research. And if the research is fairly conclusive, we could either bet for or against the company's stock and then publish the results. And presumably, if people trust that this research collective is legitimate, the market should follow afterwards. My asks are pretty simple. If you're interested, if you're intrigued, please join the Telegram group, which is the first QR code. If you are open to participating in a trial, or if you know of any Psi DAOs or biotech startups that are looking for a group to help them run their research, the second QR code will take you to a survey. And then lastly, the last QR code is just to DM me directly. And that's it. I'm open to questions.
Oh wait, hold on. Okay, good. excellent work there. There's some very interesting economic and crypto-economic incentive models you've come up with there, Tristan. Does anyone have any questions for Tristan around incentivized clinical trial models? Yeah, go ahead. You can come up. You can come up here if you'd like.
No, I'm shy. Can you hear me now? Is it loud enough?
I have to repeat the question otherwise.
Okay, fine. Okay. So I was struck by your use of the word may in slide 2 in relation to the potential rewards. And I'm curious about the extent to which the things that are listed there are likely to happen given where we're at in this crypto situation, for want of a better word.
Yes. So for the last few years, I've been building this community. It's fairly active. I'm at the point now where I'm getting people who are asking me to run research for them, whether it be decentralized or in Prospera. But I think what's the most exciting is just that if this is viable for doing affordable research, then it opens up the possibility that a group of scientists can be motivated to actually find the truth instead of just prove what their bosses want them to prove. I think that's one of the greatest problems with science right now is people kind of have a goal of what they want to see happen. But if you can potentially be betting for and against a company or a specific application, then it motivates scientists to actually try to determine if it's valid and not just, prove that this is profitable.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did that answer the question?
Yes, excellent.
Hey Tristan, good talk. So I'm really interested in this idea of basically, can we look at a publicly traded company, look at their science and say, hey, I'm gonna call bullshit on this. I'm gonna run the tests and see what the results actually say. And then can we short or long that stock? That's an awesome idea. But my question is, how do you propose to distribute this information in the most effective manner possible, right? Because you could do a preprint, and preprints have been known to move CRISPR markets, those stocks. But what's your plan for that? How do you want to distribute that information?
Right, there has to be some amount of secrecy involved because otherwise it would be hard to have that sort of momentum to actually change the market. I think that part of it is having a high trust community where you can be sure that the people are giving real data and not just fabricating things is another long-term problem. But for the case of voting for or against, I think you would need some sort of trusted intermediary to collate the data from the different actors. If you needed multiple participants, it could be something where you would instead need a trusted lab that would be doing the analysis. So it kind of depends on whether it's in humans or in vitro. But yes, it would still require, I don't see this data being on chain until after it's published. You would keep it off chain until that point.
Awesome. Does anyone else have a question?
Okay, yeah, one more.
Yeah, I'll just have you repeat.
Go ahead.
So, what's the benefit of having the compensation structure on chain as opposed to just having ordinary fiat money, just put dollars in escrow? Yeah, what's
So why does it need to be on Web 3 as opposed to Web 2?
rewards?
Yes, I think that for smaller trials, it's totally fine for escrow. It depends on whether or not you trust the person that's returning it. I think as the DeSci ecosystem matures more, it would be great to have people signing off on their data contributions, and then they get their refund, and then there's a kind of an index of all the results. But I do agree that to get started, just using PayPal or whatever is viable as well.
Any last question? All right, so we will give Tristan a big round of applause. Thank you. Excellent. All right, next up we have a Joel, who is a DSci NYC native, but unfortunately is now briefly on the West Coast. But Joel is looking for extraterrestrial life using DSci. So Joel, go ahead and take it away. Let's give him a round of applause. Joel, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me? Test, test.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I was just saying, I so wish I could be with you all. Would normally be at DSci NYC based there, but here we are presenting from the West Coast. So I run Future Folklore, and hopefully that's changing. We are onboarding the world to the search for non-human life and technology. So I'll just say that again. We're looking for signs of other life, other intelligent, sentient life, and signs of their technology. And at the end of the day, we want to be incubating technology to aid in that search, and also technology that applies findings if and when that search is successful. So the big conviction around all this, the big wager, I guess, is that the search for non-human life is sort of undergoing a renaissance right now, and it's breaking out of incredibly expensive and specialized legacy institutions like NASA. And also, on the other side, it's breaking out of previously stigmatized research communities. So there are lots of people looking for other life, and they don't know way to talk to each other, and it's hard to sort of get your way in and participate, but I think that that's changing, and I want Future Folklore to be leading that change. So one of what I consider sort of a hot lead in this search is UFOs, or UAP as they're sort of called today. They are all over the news, obviously, and it seems like there might be a there. And we want to really take that claim seriously, and we want to search there. So for the purpose of the Psi Combinator project, I brought Jared on board. He has been researching a particular search modality, you might say, when it comes to UAP. And our research question that we've only just begun to take a crack at for Psi Combinator has been this peculiar radio signal often associated with sightings of anomalous aerial objects. And these signals seem to come in the 1 to 3 gigahertz bandwidth. And we want to know, can this association of the signal and the sighting be replicated? And some research communities are even reporting 1.6 gigahertz signals. What's that about? And we even are entertaining this more esoteric human-initiated contact protocol that some claim might even lead to more sightings and signals. So yes, we are definitely in the territory of the weird right now, and that's fine. We're talking about other forms of life, so I think we should expect a degree of strangeness. But back to the signal, even at NASA's recent day-long UFO conference, and yes, they had a day-long UAP or UFO conference, the head of the Pentagon's new UFO office points out that over the course of decades of their own reporting, there have been radio signatures reported in the 1 to 3 gigahertz range, and I highlighted that down below. Really interesting chart showing morphology and where these are reported. Often there's an understandable sampling bias because these are military reports predominantly, and so they're around training ranges, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a complicated signal, though. This is a very, very fast wave cycle. It's hard to manage this data. 1 to 3 billion wave cycles per second. So it's often down converted for digital storage and analysis. And it could be other things. It could be GPS frequencies. It could be a signal, rather. It could be mobile communications. It could even be your own internal CPU clock that is producing the signal. So lots of potential confounding factors, which underlines the significance of having human observation to go along with this. So this is just a quick snapshot of our data collection and sort of the research field. Jared, who is the partner for this project, has a software-defined radio kit. There in the middle is a screen view, and on the right hand is part of his wide aerial view for observations. This is normally a video, but the PDF doesn't really support video, but the data just streams in, and this is just a snapshot of the desktop as the software is open and receiving signals. And this is just a random sampling of the data as we've been collecting it. This is not, just want to emphasize, a sighting of an unusual object. This is just a few seconds of a clip. Here's a spectrogram of the radio data coming in. Here's the same data just presented in terms of signal strength. They're on the left y-axis, and then instantaneous or sort of dominant frequency. They're on the right over time. And here's an example of sort of analysis dry run with some synthetic sightings thrown in, just to show the simple correlation analysis that we're aiming at this point. So we've got a lot of next steps, and I just want to emphasize that this is just one project under Future Folklore. We want to really sort of turn all the channels on. We want to search everywhere, because who knows where we might find other life. We want to do further testing, though, when it comes to this radio project. We want to run a proper experiment for both passive sightings and those more esoteric protocols to see if they might be more effective, and who knows why. We want to onboard more software-defined radio users because they're out there and they're passionate about collecting data. And to that end, we want to define basic protocols to do broader participation and broader data sharing. And we're even toying with the idea of defining specs for our very own radio kit that can be produced and distributed for much wider participation. So again, we're all about the search for non-human life and onboarding the whole world to that search and really searching everywhere. So no idea is beyond the pale. If you'd like to keep up with us, probably the best place is on Twitter for now, future_folklore. You can also check out our website at futurefolklore.tech. And I especially want to invite anybody who has an idea for the search. Please reach out. We would love to talk with you, whether it's mainstream study using radio astronomy data or whether it's something a bit more unusual or off the beaten path. Please reach out. We'd love to talk. Thanks.
Awesome. A round of applause for Joel. I love that idea of the software-defined radio. That is very cool. You're like the helium sort of for aliens, and I think there's like a lot of potential, or the SETI at home almost for folding at home for aliens, and I think that's a brilliant idea. And I think anyone can get involved. Yeah, we have a question.
Yeah. Come up or whatever.
Good talk, by the way. It's not really a question, just I guess a comment. Watched the congressional hearing, like 2 weeks ago, and something came to mind, software developers, something came to mind about the reporting aspect, right? That they have problems with, pilots having to report or trying to report stuff because, their captain or whoever's above them, could potentially get them canned or whatever. They could have like get fired or whatever. So I was thinking that maybe like having some decentralized platform that allows the people that actually see this stuff that work in Intel have the ability to report it without having to worry about possible scenarios or consequences.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, there's unfortunately a stigma that still surrounds this, and especially when it comes to professionals who encounter things, have sightings as part of their job, as part of their core duties. It can be a real dicey decision-making process whether to even bring it up, right? And not to mention that there's not really much of a repository for reporting those sightings. There are some sort of citizen science and communities that you can reach out to, but it just takes a lot of effort, and it's not really funneling its way back to the FAA or the airline or the military for that matter. Yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks for bringing that up. There is a group called Americans for Safe Aerospace, I believe it's called. They're a new group that's dedicated to the very thing that you're mentioning. It's run by a former Navy fighter pilot. Yeah, he was one of the people who testified, actually.
Any other questions for Joel? One more? Okay, yeah.
Hi Joel, how are you doing? I have a quick question. So we know that there's a ton of misinformation online about UFO sightings and stuff along those lines. So how do you control for that with this idea or this startup? How do you control for misinformation spreading throughout your platform? And we also know that UFOs attract a lot of people that are just they're just looking for stuff for propaganda purposes. How do you control for that? Great presentation, by the way. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a great question, and I don't think it's a problem that's going to go away, unfortunately. I think there are ways to mitigate it. I mean, if it's data-driven, that will help. And if it takes a little bit of effort to record the data, to share it, that could sort of weed out some of the noise. But it's going to be there. And I think that's just one of the prices to pay to onboard more and more and more people. I would love to help like mainstream study people get their ideas to market. And I do think that that market is going to like create itself. The demand's going to increase. But yeah, that's a great point. There are all sorts of videos that make the rounds on every social media channel, and it's very hard these days to distinguish whether they're real. There's often very little corroborating data. So, you know, the more angles on the same sighting or event, the better. That can help to weed out some of that. Like if there's radio signals alongside human observation or video, that could help mitigate the noise factor. But it's a great question, and it's I think it's a good problem to have, and something that we just have to keep chipping away at. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's give Joel a final round. It's very cool, and I'm really excited about this software-defined radio, and just the whole general project seems very promising.
I was just gonna say.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One of the answers for that, you could have like, you know, tokenize in a sense the sharing of the information. So if it is misinformation, you can be penalized, and like, you know, there would be like some reward system, so you can kind of get out the misinformation.
He said you can tokenize the pieces of data, and then you can slash people who put in bad data. And not to promote my own product, but if you're interested in that, you can check out DBDAO, because we have a system that allows for you to stake and slash on data sets. So go ahead, Joel. And what's your name?
Drew.
Drew and Joel get connected and build on DBDAO.
Okay. See you guys in New York next time. Look forward to connecting more.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Next up, we have Waylon. Waylon is doing a very cool, very technical project, and I will let him go ahead and describe it. Arbiter for us all. So take it away, Waylon. I couldn't hear it. We had a heckler, but I didn't hear what they said, so we'll have to heckle you later offline. Oh, a fan. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, can you see my screen too? I don't have any slides prepared, so I guess quick background about me, real quick. I'm just a regular guy building some software. My project is a little bit kind of technical, kind of in a very different direction, but I like computer science and I like science, and it's cool to see everybody doing cool science stuff. I think epistemology is really cool, so thinking about new ways to verify knowledge is really good. My project is a open source, open license EVM logic simulator, and I'm gonna keep it pretty brief. I have a demo I can show you guys of its end user API. But if any of you guys have ever built any software for the blockchain, you might be familiar with a SDK called Ethers. And in particular, I work in the Rust Ethereum ecosystem, and I use Ethers all the time. It's really great. Now, what's not so great in Till Arbiter is that there's this other amazing piece of software that is a Rust implementation of the Ethereum virtual machine as a stack machine. And it's very, very fast. And I saw this and I was like, oh, that's really nice. I would love to, do some like stateful fuzzing on enormous amounts of data with EVM parity. So having like the same execution traces that I would on, any live network that runs the ISA of the EVM. And initially we built our own kind of bespoke middleware, our interface over the Rust EVM to model agents or externally owned accounts. But I'm happy to tell you guys now that we recently implemented the Ethers RS middleware, which means that anywhere that you use the Ethers RS middleware in the Rust Ethereum ecosystem, you can swap in our middleware, and it supports all the same functionality, but now on a local instance of in-memory revm that is really, really fast. So why would you care about this at all? Well, there are, I think, 3 primary, very interested users of this tool. The first and foremost is security researchers. I don't know if you guys know about Spearbit, but they're amazing. They've been really interested and supportive of this project to find security vulnerabilities and audit contracts. Another group of people who's very interested in products like this is protocol designers. So if any of you guys are like smart contract engineers, this is a really good way to kind of understand how your protocols behave in like real-time environments. And then the last group, and large reason why I'm here talking to you all, is scientists. There's a lot of people in academia that are very interested in different ways of analyzing stuff, and turns out it's hard to get a large quantity of high quality data, but Arbiter does exactly that. And so I'm just gonna go over to a VS Code instance. This is totally open source, this is Arbiter template. I can give you the links. Anybody feel free to reach out to me or DM me or ask me questions about the software. But I can run this real quick and walk through it. It's less than 50 lines of code here, maybe 40 without the imports. But all that's going on right now is I'm creating a revm environment, and this thing I call a manager. I create a client, which is basically an EOA around the environment, and we can see it's a revm middleware object. I start the environment, and then I deploy a contract with the Rust contract bindings, and then I make some calls to the contract, and I check to see that things are working and that the state has changed. And by the way, revm is also what's used in Reth, the Rust Ethereum client. So it is the underlying execution engine in Reth, so it's very production ready and well maintained and tested and implements the latest opcodes for the latest hard forks. But we'll just run this here real quick as a quick example, and we can see works great. What went into making this work great is a lot more messy and stuff, and I'm happy to provide resources on that. But that's about it. Happy to take some questions or whatever.
Yes, thank you, Waylon. Let's give him a round of applause here. Does anyone have any questions for Waylon? Can you tell us a little about the types of simulations that you think it would be good for, or that you've done already?
Absolutely. So it's very useful in multi-agent simulations. So, for example, a lot of people are trying to understand and quantify different payoffs that liquidity providers receive, and also the economic risk of different protocols. This is essentially what Gauntlet Network does, or Chaos Labs does. Arbiter is kind of like an open source version of their services, which they do charge a lot of money for. So for example, if you have a lending protocol and you assume some Oracle risk, maybe you want to feed your pseudo Oracle a stochastic price path with like jump diffusion in it, and understand if you have some liquidators or some arbitrage agents that you design, how this impacts the protocol that you design. Furthermore, you don't actually have to study DeFi at all. It's also, it's just a hot topic. But, one thing I've been talking about with my friends at Optimism is, they're launching fraud proofs, and they would love to simulate the dispute game. And so that's something I think about simulating as well. But anything on the EVM that has different types of agents that have different incentives, Arbiter can tell you a lot about how discovering emergent behavior between those actors on those sorts of protocols.
Very cool. Have you tried implementing Game of Life in it?
I've not. That's a really great idea. Somebody should do it.
It's to be like the Hello World test case for a very sophisticated system like yours. But I think it would be, I don't know, maybe it's like a getting started thing. That's something that I would like to do.
Yeah, no, that is a great idea. Definitely keep that in mind. We are writing a lot of simulations lately, but I'll get to it, I promise.
Does anyone else have a question for Waylon? Any econ questions? Yeah, in the back. Come on up. So if you guys are thinking about using Gauntlet Labs or Chaos, talk to Waylon.
What's up, Waylon? So in terms of how you define the agents in the system, like what kind of rule sets are you putting in there to define like what the payoff functions are?
I didn't hear amazingly, but just going to repeat back what I heard to clarify.
Like how do you determine the agent payoff system? Like how do you determine payoff function? Sorry, how do you determine the agent payoff function?
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends on the context and how robust you want to go. You could technically build like LLM agents, and probably be a lift. That's totally possible. The abstraction we deliver is basically over the externally owned account. So for example, a lot of agents we've designed are just arbitrageurs, right? And all they do is check to see if there's an opportunity for them to like extract some value, right? And if that condition is met, so, you know, if there is some arbitrage bounds, they make that trade and they rebalance marketplaces, which is, you know, how a lot of decentralized exchanges are priced. Similarly for like a liquidator, we can program in the same way people, so like a lot of people who like do searching and arbitrage are very interested in Arbiter because they can basically simulate the implications of some actions on some state. And they like to be able to do that. And you can do it very fast, which is great. The last benchmark we ever did, which was a rough benchmark, and in the future you'll definitely anticipate some more benchmarks that we can deliver, but the last one was running about like over 2,000 operations per second. You know, so you can grab as many data points as you want per operation. Some could be on-chain state modifications, some could be just whether or not the swap occurred or not in that step of the stochastic price path or what. But sorry, that was a bit of a ramble, but does that answer the question?
Yes, you got a thumbs up. And because it's in Rust, those 2,000 transactions a second is probably very simple for it to do. I had one other question. Could you simulate organizational behavior or like sociological data if inside of each agent you put like an LLM and you could sort of simulate how groups of people would behave? You give each agent, like, you are a doctor, you are a lawyer, you are a citizen or whatever, and then do sort of emergent economic IRL behavior?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, some people talk about like letting LLMs talk to the blockchain. This is like how you would, you know, study for real of how that would happen and what emergent behavior would arise from them.
I think that would be very cool at some point. Okay, very awesome. Okay, so excellent job, Waylon. And how can people get involved with your project if they're interested? What would be some good avenues for that?
You know, you can definitely probably DM me on Twitter is probably the place I'm most responsive, or on GitHub. This is my GitHub. My Twitter, I can put it in the chat. yeah, feel free to use any of this. It's just 0xJepson here. And yeah, let me know if you're interested, or if you're an engineer or software developer who wants to use this, or is looking to do any of the kind of deep in the chain swimming. Let me know, and I can tell you more.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Waylon. Excellent. Okay, now we are going to transition to the people. Oh, when we get one more infinity simulation before we go. And next we are going to. Okay, so now we are going to do some recorded videos here. Okay, so here we have Charles with distributed governance framework, and he's working on ways to study governance frameworks within DAOs. So we will tune into his presentation.
Distributed governance for a framework. So a bit of background. The main challenge motivating this project was related to transparency property associated with DAOs, which ultimately led to the introduction of trying to develop a scenario management tool.
Actually, I'm going to do this in a slightly different way. We will
So the background, the main challenge motivating this project was related to transparency property associated with DAOs, which ultimately led to the introduction of trying to develop a scenario management tool to help with that. And given the things imaginaries associated with DAOs, which ultimately led to the DAO index, which is a methodology for exactly that. Some of the outputs associated with it, for example, is a scorecard toolkit. So you can actually use this to go rate DAOs yourself as well. Data repository made of 6 data sets. And also an online platform where you can actually explore the DAO index data. You can see the basic ratings, the advanced ratings. You can see the process for each evaluation. You can see all the materials cited. And then, of course, there's some use cases associated with the DAO index. So, for example, research analysis. Sample question, how did DAOs perform for principal? Here's a rater chart helping answer that question. Of course, there's also badges. So this way you don't have to read the evaluation. You can just understand how well DAO did right away. You can also do token gating as well if you want to register DAO index scores to access certain services or assets. And also guidance. Since we evaluate DAOs, we usually have a good idea of what are some good practices. So if there's a DAO that needs some help developing a purpose statement, we could recommend to them bank with that purpose statement. This is pretty good. And regarding awareness, we also mentioned distributed governance, boardrooms newsletter, so that was very cool. Regarding who we serve, primarily DAOs and the public. But secondly, we serve some businesses because they can use the DAO index data as well. If you'd like to support the project, you can become a contributor. 4 ways of doing that. Also be a supporter. 4 ways of doing that. If you'd like to get in contact, here are the contacts. Lastly, thank you for watching.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions for Charles, which he will listen to when we post the video online? One question? Anyone? Okay. Well, I will ask my questions offline, and it looks like an excellent. You've got the good data sets there, and it'll be interesting to see how the different frameworks compare. And I think it would also be interesting to see if there's a way to tie the frameworks that you extract out from their documents into some sort of optimization that you can measure. So if you see that certain types of frameworks work really well for certain types of projects or groups of people or demographics or whatever, or size of DAO, and then looking into see what they're trying to accomplish, and then tying sort of their governance framework back to this optimization that you determine would be like a very interesting next step for the project. Okay, next up we have Psi DAO, which is in the same vein, which is by Danica, who's a PhD student, and she's studying how sociology can be studied within the context of a DAO. So instead of thinking of like, what does it mean to study it in real life settings, a DAO presents a new canvas or substrate on which people will be engaging with each other. So what sort of tools are necessary, and what sort of things can we determine to study how people behave within the context of a DAO? And a DAO is called as a decentralized autonomous organization, which is sort of the base unit of how people engage with each other in the context of Web3 and in the context of decentralized science.
And I'm working on Psi DAO, a project working to integrate decentralized data collection in the social sciences. Using blockchain technology to store and collect data promotes open science in several ways. It preserves data in a permanent record that future researchers can use for their own research. It prevents data fraud with immutable raw data files, and so researchers can point to the original file and trust that that is, in fact, an accurate data file. And it also empowers research participants to have lasting control over their data. And so rather than participants filling out a survey and then never seeing that data again, they are the owners of their data, they can choose to share it, and it also gives them the possibility of having a connection to the research team so that they can see the impact of their participation later on. So the goals of this project are first to promote decentralized data collection, to speak with researchers, spread the word, and let them know that this is a possibility, and also to talk with researchers and hear about their needs to improve existing platforms so they can be more seamlessly incorporated into social science. And finally, to run decentralized surveys, to test them out, see what can be improved, and just show this as a proof of concept. So the current study that we're running is a survey of DAO members, and we're working with DBDAO's decentralized data storage platform to run a survey asking DAO members about their moral beliefs and visions for decentralized technologies. We're also using this as an opportunity to test out some new survey distribution methods, like a survey chatbot that can potentially engage participants more. So if any of these ideas interest you, please feel free to get in touch. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent, excellent. Does anyone have any questions for Danica that she can hear later on? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind just going back so I can just show the contact slide?
Yes.
Thanks.
Well, you have her contact info.
Yeah, that's true, but I want to...
Okay.
I'd also
There. There we go. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, this is more of like a longer term question, but I think this is fascinating, really interesting. I think it's a really important thing to be studying, how people are interacting on these platforms. But what I'm curious about is how do you detect or determine if influences outside of the online platform are coming to play? Like, we meet in a setting like this, we're both in DBDAO, and I'm talking to you and telling you, like, oh, I think it should go this way, or I think it should go that way, right? It's not on chain, right? And I think a lot of interactions are still occurring like that. And I don't think there's an answer for that. That's what I think would be interesting if you kind of tease that out from the data.
So the question is how do you check on-chain versus off-chain data? And I think I would actually push back that I don't think some of these DAOs are very distributed. So I think you could pick up a lot of that data in Discord or Telegram conversations, or potentially voice conversations. And I mean, we have these IRL meetups, but there are some other ones. But it is how do you, maybe someone DMs someone else and you don't have access to that. But I think, you're not comparing this to perfect, you're comparing it to what is the status quo today, which is taking a survey in an academic institution where you're paid $20, where you're incentivized basically to finish it as quickly as you can, so you can get your $20 and then get to lunch. So I think she's going to be picking up a lot higher quality data sets than what is the baseline traditionally, and that would be how I would respond if it were her, but she can get in contact.
No, I mean, I think it's really interesting what you're doing. It's definitely unique, for sure.
Yeah. Excellent. Does anyone else have a question for Danica? All right, well, very interesting research, and I think there's a possibility that she'll actually publish a paper or something on this. So we hope to stay in touch and hear how that research comes out. All right, next up, we have, hello. All right. Next up, we have but it's a very promising research. We have Supplement DAO, who is here with us today as well. All right, and Supplement DAO is also another Psi NYC native project, so that is very exciting.
Supplement DAO, the go-to platform for sharing and learning about nutritional supplements. We're here to bridge the gap between personal experiences and supplement research. We're inviting users of dietary supplements from all walks of life to join our community. Your experiences, whether with multivitamins, protein powders, or herbal supplements, can help us all understand better. Why share your experience with Supplement DAO? By contributing your stories, you become part of a larger conversation about supplements. Your experiences can guide the development of better products, leading to a safer and more effective supplement market for everyone. At Supplement DAO, your experiences are uniquely yours. You have full control over your information. You decide what to share, creating a safe space for everyone to learn. As part of our community, you'll have access to a wealth of knowledge and insights about supplements. Making informed decisions about your wellness journey becomes easy. Your stories, combined with those of others, can create an invaluable resource for professionals interested in understanding supplements better. Are you ready to join us at Supplement DAO? It's as easy as visiting our website, creating an account, and sharing your supplement experiences. At Supplement DAO, your stories are part of a bigger picture. Together, let's enhance our understanding of nutritional supplements.
Excellent. Round of applause for the Supplement DAO. Do you want to come up? Does anyone have any questions for Supplement DAO? What I really like about this project is I think supplements and nootropics are very, have the Venn diagram between that and Web3 and DAOs is very similar. So I think there is a great potential here. And we have Darian here who can help. He is one of the team leads for this. Does anyone have any questions for them?
What's the story behind this?
So me and my friend Jackson, we're talking about like, hey, we're putting all these weird pills into our body because both of us like supplements, and we talked about the data that was available. We realized, hey, there are a few sites that have subreddits on different pills, and those pills kind of go in and out of fashion. And we really wanted a place that was centralized where people could report on it and hear about it before you take a supplement, you experienced a side effect that you've never heard of, and before you have a panic attack, you know what to expect.
Yeah, so, I mean, like Michael said, there's a lot of overlap between crypto, cyberpunks, biohackers, transhumanists. It's definitely a great area that you can target. Maybe using a DAO is the right idea. But aside from that, like the gimmick of it, is there any reason for a DAO as opposed to aggregating the information?
Yeah, so to start, we are not a DAO. We are a C Corp that has DAO aspirations. I think that's honestly how most DAOs should start. So eventually the goal is to, after gathering enough data, either launch our own supplement brand or have chosen supplements that we advertise, and then you really want to give back to that community. So at that point, we'll become formally a DAO and launch some sort of monetization scheme.
If you go to examine.com, they do more or less the same thing. They provide research-based information on different supplements, especially whey protein, protein bars, stuff like that. So is that we're trying to do? Are you targeting the healthcare and medical side of the market, or the more health and fitness supplements like whey proteins and guarana and stuff like that?
Yeah, great point. So that was one of the places we were looking. We're definitely targeting kind of the health and fitness, the ones that aren't really reported on as much. So we're both providing scientific study summarization plus an ability to gather user reports.
And how are you different from them? What's the competitive advantage?
If I remember correctly, they lacked the ability to really, they didn't seem to have a long list of user reports that were easily indexable and searchable. Go ahead.
My question is, if you're putting together like scientific reports and evidence-based almost medicine along with user reports, how do you protect yourself from like the legal battle of when a lot of supplements are not even FDA regulated and people have very negative side effects from them? Like, what's protecting you from somebody just saying, this is so great, it made me lose 30 pounds, you know, and then a lot of people go on it and it's on your website. How do you protect yourself from that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are protected in the same way, you know, Reddit might be protected in that, like, hey, we try to moderate. But other than that, you know, I think legal precedent said it's a platform. So that's as far. We are not putting out scientific studies ourselves. We have if you go to our website, there's a very clear delineation of this is the summarization of scientific studies. Below that, your user reports. But great question, and good thing for me to look out for in the future.
So I guess my question is, do you need like any additional data? So let's say, you know, there's a number of people that take some supplements, they produce a report, right? And then like describing their user experience, and then how do you make a recommendation for that? Because unless you have any additional information to like correlate with that, so let's say, you know, if we have some health data, some genomics, so I can say, oh, you know, I make some model, and then there's a particular aspect of like these people that have some feature that means that that's why they're having the experience, or at least maybe not causally, but like correlated, that's why, right?
Yeah.
And then you make that recommendation to just those group of people.
So I want to be a little more clear here. We're not making any recommendations. We're on the level of, okay, we'll summarize the data that's out there. Sorry, not data, the scientific studies that are out there for specific supplements. And then below that, we offer qualitative individual user reports that are submitted by users. So it is very much like, you know, Reddit. So that would pretty much be our main competitor of like, oh, you have this person who comes in and talks about their 4-week experience with Fidogio agrestis and how it like gave them night sweats or something. And then the next and then when you go to that supplement on our website, you can read about that, and then you can just, you know, take everything with a grain of salt. So we make no recommendations. We're just a forum where people can talk about their supplement experiences. Very similar to Arrowhead, but not, you know, psychedelics. Thank you.
Excellent.
Great work. All right. Very promising. Next up, we have Cydex. And Cydex is doing publishing.
at SciDex, a full-stack decentralized publication system. Academic publishing is a very bizarre industry. It's worth more than $20 billion, but most of its profits go towards external actors, publishers like Elsevier or Springer, that add very little value to the product. They essentially just post PDFs. Whereas the production of the scientific content and its quality control are performed for free by scientists, mostly funded by the public. And then the public is charged a third time to access the articles. So if there's one thing Psi needs to decentralize, it's that, and SciDex is our solution. It's a full-stack peer review and publication system that allows scientists to truly own their publications in the Web3 sense. Now, the basic setting relies on smart contracts to handle access control and payment processing, and to also keep an immutable record of publications. But a non-blockchain based version can also be easily spun out. Web3 is, after all, a superset of Web2. And so we have several ongoing integration projects with groups of scientists and domain experts. And an interesting question that arose during the accelerator was what other problems have the same structure as academic peer review and can benefit from the same tech with little modifications. And so we are answering this question actively by building other applications, notably a psychonaut platform for people interested in psychedelics and consciousness exploration to journal and generate valid data for research that they can monetize down the line. Anyway, if any of the ideas I touched upon in these 2 minutes resonate, please get in touch. Thank you for your attention.
Awesome. Short and sweet. Yeah, academic publishing has some serious issues, and a lot of the incentive directions are pointing in the wrong. A lot of the incentives are pointing in the wrong direction. So, does anyone have any questions for the SciDex team that they will listen to later? Well, I mean, I'm very excited for the demo, and Nassim is a very skilled software developer, and very, very excited to see it come to life, and the data tokenized on chain shortly. The papers tokenized on chain shortly, and seeing what comes to that. Awesome. Okay, so moving on to the next project. We have Hackage.
We are Hackage, and we are a project dedicated to achieving longevity through rejuvenation of the extracellular matrix. It's a substance in between cells that gives tissue support. We are especially interested in a process known as glycation. It's when sugars react with biological macromolecules such as glycogen. Hello, we are Hackage, and we are a project dedicated to achieving longevity through rejuvenation of the extracellular matrix. It's a substance in between cells that gives tissue support. We are especially interested in a process known as glycation. It's when sugars react with biological macromolecules such as proteins. And this process is especially detrimental when it happens in the extracellular matrix. Glycation can happen in a variety of ways, giving rise to a plethora of chemical entities. And some of those entities are crosslinks. We believe that the accumulation of glycation damage is not only a permanent feature of aging, it's a root cause of aging. And our hypothesis is a feature of glycation damage is not only a permanent feature of aging, it's a root cause of aging. And our hypothesis is as follows. We see a cell and its surrounding, and our permanent feature of aging, it's a root, which is not only a permanent feature of aging, it's a root cause of aging. And our hypothesis is as follows. We see a cell and its surrounding as a single thermodynamic unit. And as we age, the matrix accumulates crosslinks, it becomes rigid, there is less movement, so its entropy goes down. This inevitably leads to the increase in entropy inside the cell, and this is actually what we see as the hallmarks of aging. The cell wants to remodel its surroundings, basically exporting entropy away from the genetic material. However, this process is a temporary solution, and at some point the whole system collapses and we die. So we believe that aging is a biophysical phenomenon. It's a contextual distinction between hard and soft. And we are convinced that by fixing ECM, we can fix aging. For the past few months, we've been looking into directed evolution as a means to engineer an enzyme that will break those crosslinks. And since our inception, we've won a few competitions, and now we believe we can onboard more people to the project by starting a DAO. To get involved, please reach out. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Very cool model that you have determined from a thermodynamic perspective. Do you have any questions for the HackAge team? 3. Well, they had a really interesting situation because this isn't something that is like traditionally DeSci. Like, there's two types of DeSci project. There's like the ones that are very longitudinal, and then those that are very like deep. And I think DeSci has a very good use case for things where like, oh, we need to collect data sets from a very wide demographic. But their tricky thing is they had to find experts within their field who were very knowledgeable around this specific topic. So I think this was a very interesting project from the point of view of like, how do you determine a DeSci project that has a very deep technical, that you need a very deep technical expertise to find. Okay, one last round for any questions for HackAge. It was a technical project, so that wraps up all the projects. I think there are 11 projects in total, and this was this first round of Psi Combinator cohort. So let's just give like a round of applause for all 11 projects that completed it. And just to remind people that if you too are interested in getting involved in the next round of Psi Combinator, you can do so by going to psicombinator.xyz and applying with your idea. If you need help, we can try and give you feedback on your idea before you submit, and find you a team if you're interested in working together with other people. It's a very brief application. And don't forget also about the next DeSci NYC, which will be on September 21st. And with that, I think we're done. Thank you so much for all coming out tonight. I appreciate it. Now, mingle.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, of course, Okay, yes. Okay, sounds good. Bye. Awesome. Well, let me know. Would you like that? August 31st. Oh, what is the... Yeah, exactly. And then you do it through that, and I'll get that. I can write...